After yet another exciting weekend of college football, here are my 10 winners from week 9. Before I get to my top 10, make sure to smash that subscribe button and turn on those notifications if you're new to my channel. If you're watching this video, odds are that you love college football, and odds are you aren't subscribed to my channel, so make sure to subscribe to one of the best college football communities here on YouTube. I'll be posting videos every day during the season, so make sure to subscribe so you never miss a video. Also, make sure to drop a like on this video as well. It helps out with that YouTube algorithm and helps share the video with more college football fans. Plus, it only takes a second to do. Also, drop a comment down below and let me know who you think the biggest winner was from this weekend. There were some teams I probably left off, so I'd love to hear which teams impressed you guys the most. We'll kick things off with Tennessee, who picked up yet another impressive victory to add to their resume. They took down number 19 Kentucky 44-6. Now, after the first quarter, this was actually a pretty interesting game as Tennessee led by only 1 point. But over the final 3 quarters, they outscored the Wildcats 37-0. Hendon Hooker continues his Heisman campaign as he threw for 250 yards with 3 passing touchdowns, while rushing in a touchdown as well. Offensively, this was just like any other game for the Vols. They scored more than 40 points, they had over 400 yards of total offense, and they looked unstoppable. But it was their defense that really showed out in this contest. In addition to holding the Wildcats to only 6 points, they held Kentucky to only 14 first downs, 2 of 13 on third downs, and just over 200 yards of total offense. They averaged only 3.5 yards per pass and only 3 yards per rushing attempt. Plus, Tennessee was able to force 3 turnovers as well. We already knew that Tennessee was one of the better teams in all of college football, and they already had one of the better resumes, but picking up yet another top 25 victory is really just insane. Tennessee is 8-0 on the season, and this is their 5th win over a top 25 opponent. Picking up arguably the best win of the entire weekend, and maybe one of the best wins of the entire season, was Kansas State. They faced number 9 Oklahoma State and defeated them 48-0. If you were to take down any Power 5 team 48-0, that would be pretty impressive, but doing it against a top 10 team is nearly historic. With Adrian Martinez out, Will Howard was the quarterback for Kansas State, and he looked like a Heisman caliber quarterback. He threw for 300 yards with 4 passing touchdowns and 0 interceptions. Meanwhile, on the ground, Deuce Vaughn rushed for 160 yards with a rushing score while catching 4 passes for a receiving touchdown. This was an impressive showing from the Kansas State offense, but what the defense was able to do was even better. Entering this game, Oklahoma State had one of the top offenses in the entire country, and they couldn't even score a single point against this defense. For the game, they had only 14 first downs and just over 200 yards of total offense. Spencer Sanders, who was a Heisman candidate entering this game, completed only 50% of his passes for 150 yards. Although they blew a huge lead in last week's game against TCU, Kansas State looks like they're in the driver's seat to play in the Big 12 title game. They currently have the 2nd best conference record in the Big 12, and if they're able to win out, they're going to have a rematch with TCU in the Big 12 title game. Louisville entered this weekend's game against number 10 Wake Forest as the underdog, but you wouldn't have guessed it based on this performance. The Cardinals upset the Demon Deacons 48-21 thanks to a 35-point third quarter. The Cardinals actually trailed at halftime as they were down by 1 point, but they scored 5 touchdowns in the third quarter that gave them the 27-point victory. Now, although the offense had a pretty solid showing for Louisville as they had over 400 yards of total offense, it was the defense that really put this game out of reach. Just in that third quarter alone, the Cardinals had 2 pick sixes. Entering the game, Sam Hartman was one of the better quarterbacks in all of college football, and Louisville made sure to take him out of the game entirely. For the contest, he barely completed 50% of his passes and threw only 1 touchdown pass while throwing 3 interceptions. This is a huge upset for Louisville as they continue this hot stretch of football. They've won 3 games in a row, and they've won 4 of their last 5, with their lone loss coming by only 1 point. In fact, they've won 5 of their last 7 games, with their 2 losses coming by a combined 5 points. They're not going to be competing for the ACC title game, but Louisville has a shot of winning 9 games for the first time since 2016. If they just win 3 more games, it'll be their best season since 2019. It's been a rough season for Notre Dame, but they picked up their best win of the season as they went on the road and knocked off number 16 Syracuse 41-24. The Irish have now won 5 of their last 6 games, with their lone loss coming in a last-second loss to Stanford a couple weeks ago. But if you take out that loss, Notre Dame has really looked like a good program over the last month and a half. As a team, the Irish rushed for 250 yards and had 3 rushing scores. That was where they did most of their damage for the game. Again, I know it's been a pretty bad season for Notre Dame so far, and they still have a couple of difficult games remaining on their schedule, but they've really turned things around over the last month and a half, and they've got some momentum going as they get ready to face number 5 Clemson this upcoming weekend. UCF picked up their biggest win of the season as they knocked off number 20 Cincinnati 25-21. This was a back and forth game all the way until the final minute, but UCF scored the game-winning touchdown with 48 seconds remaining. For the game, UCF had 30 first downs and over 500 yards of total offense. As a team, they rushed for 260 yards and had 3 rushing scores. This has been a really impressive season for UCF as they've won 5 of their last 6 games and they're now ranked number 25 in the AP poll. If it wasn't for Tulane, who's 7-1 on the season, you can make the case that the Knights have been the best group of 5 team in all of college football this season. Utah won a close game on the road against Washington State as they defeated them by only 4 points. But considering they were down their starting quarterback in Cameron Rising and their top running back in Tavion Thomas, I'll consider this a massive win for the Utes. Bryson Barnes filled in for Rising and was solid as he threw for 200 yards with a passing touchdown, while also adding 50 yards on the ground as well. Meanwhile, as a team, the Utes rushed for just under 200 yards with 2 rushing scores. I know Washington State isn't a top 25 team, but going into Pullman is a difficult task regardless of how good your team is. The fact that Utah went in there without their top 2 offensive weapons and pulled out the victory is a more than impressive showing. I had to double check to make sure this was accurate, but Iowa picked up a win by scoring 33 points in a game. It's the first time all season the Hawkeyes have cracked 30 points in a contest. They also finished the game with 400 yards of total offense. Yep, this is actually something that happened this weekend. The Hawkeyes had 400 yards of total offense. Spencer Petras had a game that'll likely put him in the College Football Hall of Fame. He threw for over 200 yards and had a passing touchdown and a rushing touchdown. Yeah, after hearing that, I'm gonna go out and buy a lottery ticket. Boise State got off to a rough start this season as they started 2-2. But they've won 4 consecutive games and 6 of their last 7, and they're now 5-0 in conference play and look like the team to beat in the Mountain West. They took down Colorado State, a team they should have beaten, but it was a huge blowout win for Boise State as they picked up their biggest win of the season. Taylon Green threw for over 300 yards with 2 passing touchdowns while rushing in a touchdown as well. Meanwhile, on the ground, George Holani added over 100 yards with 3 rushing scores. For the game, Boise State had 30 first downs compared to Colorado State's 6. They also had over 500 yards of total offense compared to Colorado State's 170. Like I said, not that impressive a victory, but considering where Boise State was to start the season, this is a huge stretch they're on, and they're probably going to be knocking on the doors of being a top 25 team in the coming weeks. TCU got their money's worth against West Virginia as it was a back and forth game until the final minutes. But TCU ended up pulling out the 10-point victory over the Mountaineers. Max Duggan continues to add to his Heisman resume as he threw 340 yards with 3 passing touchdowns. Again, it wasn't a pretty victory over a pretty bad West Virginia team, but TCU picked up their 8th straight victory and is still undefeated on the season. In addition, they have a pretty comfortable lead in the Big 12, so barring some epic collapse on their end, they're going to be playing for the Big 12 title game, which is certainly going to help their chances of reaching the college football playoff. We'll wrap things up with a team that's cracking my winners list for the first time ever, and it's the Yukon Huskies. They knocked off Boston College 13-3, picking up their 4th victory of the season. That's right, we live in a college football world where Yukon has 4 victories. This is the first time they've beaten a Power 5 team since 2016, and it's the first time they've forced 5 turnovers in a game in 11 years. For Yukon, this is the first time they've won 4 games in a season since 2015. If Yukon is somehow able to go bowling and win just 3 more games, it'll be their best season since 2010 when they were in the Big East. From 2018 to 2021, Yukon won only 4 games combined, so the job that Jim Mora has done with his program in his first year is nothing short of spectacular. So major shout out to the Huskies for the season they're having. Well, that wraps it up for my 10 winners from this past weekend. Which team do you think was the biggest winner overall? Or was there a team that really surprised you that should have been on this list? Whatever your thoughts are, let me know in the comment section down below. Before you leave, make sure to smash that subscribe button and turn on those notifications if you're new to my channel. If you love college football, this is definitely the place for you. As I mentioned at the beginning of the video, I'll be posting videos every day during the college football season, so make sure to subscribe so you never miss a video. Also, make sure to drop a like on this video as well. It helps out with that YouTube algorithm and helps share the video with more college football fans. Plus, it only takes a second to do. As always, thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you all in my next video.